going to discuss about pre-sales, because this is the first thing which usually any organization, irrespective of the size of the organization it belongs to, pre-sales is the one which is essentially important. Pre-sales is the one which is required for any organization. So this is not something new, because whoever is working and whichever the industry are we working, as you know, pre-sales is one of the area where they get more business, right? So they try to identify new opportunities outside in the market, and whichever are we capable and experience of, the sales and business development team will get the projects and will get the services accordingly. This is what generally in terms of pre-sales itself is concerned. But especially if you see the difference between non-IT to IT, especially in the role of non-IT, if you see in non-IT organizations, there will be a sales and business development team who will be taking care of negotiations, all that. But of course, if you see underlined, there will be some technical people who will be involved in it. Because if some customer is asking about to develop a service, sales and business development team may not have the technical skill sets to explain the kind of difficulties or the advantages, right? So pros and cons, all that. Because when you are submitting the timelines of the work, or when you are submitting the cost, even technical complexities, everything has to be taken care of. Unless until if you are not taking care of these technical complexities, developing an application would be really difficult. At the same time, we should understand the scope, possibilities, all that, which is not practically possible unless until if we don't have any of this idea. So in this context, especially not only in non-IT, even in IT also, you see this pre-sales team consists of not only sales and business development team. There will be a team of people who consists of project management and business analysis people will also be involved in it, along with technical people. Let me explain you on a high level note. I am not going to the detailed part of it, that I'll be going in coming this thing. So when you see, especially into pre-sales point of view, in this pre-sales, the project management team majorly focusing on planning of the project, because when there is a customer, whoever is expecting you to develop a solution, this project management team plays a vital and important role in understanding how the project has to be planned. Depends on the complexity what it has. This complexity may be something connecting with technicalities of the application. That's the reason why these IT services will be divided into two different parts. Because before getting into this, let me explain you this so that you'll have a clear idea about this. There will be two services. One is project based and second is product based. Two different things. In reference to project based means there will be a customer, there is a client has some X requirement, and whatever the solutions are we going to provide is something confined only to that. That's what generally project based companies were all about. So if you see a project based company, or if you see a project based company on a high level note, so they have an existing application. Assume that they have an existing application. They want to upgrade their application to the next level because their business process changes might have been taken place. That's the reason why they require some additional services to be added. This could be the one reason. Second, sometimes we may require to develop a new application right from the scratch to the customers also. So this is all comes under project based company. Whatever I was explaining you, whatever I am explaining you, everything relating to project based. Second is product based. Product based means we are developing a product as separate. So this product, if you want to develop the product, there are different parameters will be taken into an account based upon the market research, based upon the industry which we are experienced with. Let's say, for example, I am experienced in healthcare domain, or for example, I'm experienced in banking and financial domain, for example, right? So our organization is experienced in banking and financial domain. What is that we do? We made a research, market research will be done by our research team, and we identify what sort of products are really useful at this point in time for the customers who are relating to banking and financials, because banking and financials have a lot of services are involved in it, right? Banking services are separate, portfolio management, investment banking, payment related stuff. At the same time, IPOs, mergers and acquisitions will be there, trade life cycle is there, right? So stocks, debentures. If you go for financial services, stock market and all, you have debentures, shares, right? So all these things are involved in it. So when there is an involvement of all these things, organization will make a survey, will make a survey out of it, and they'll identify what kind of products are really useful for the market. They made a survey out of it. At the same time, they see who are the competitors for that particular product. Based on that, they will identify how best the product has to be designed, because when we are going to develop a product, when we want to enter into a market, we have to see the range of the product is also important, because to what extent services can be provided by us, and how large canvas our project is, or how small our product was, right? So because targeted area in terms of geographically, what is the targeted area are we going to focus more on? At the same time, it's size of the project, based on the size of the product, what kind of services are you going to provide, and how, and who are our competitors. So this sort of understanding is essentially required whoever is working on the particular one. So product based company will make a research out of it. Whenever they made a research, they will identify what kind of products were really important for them to develop. Based on that, necessary products will be developed. Based on that, necessary planning of the product will be developed accordingly. This is how generally the difference you see in reference to project based to product based. Project based is something confined only for a particular customer, and whatever the services are you going to provide is completely for that particular customer itself. But whereas when you see a project based company, product based company is not that. So wherein there is a product which you want to develop. So if you want to develop the product, what is that you require? You need to have a complete market research over that. What kind of products to be developed, and what should be the technical specification, followed by the budget, followed by the timelines. Because if you want to make your product successful, of course, what kind of sales and services are we going to provide, and how are we going to market this product? That's a different thing, right? So let us keep that point aside for some time. Before that, before you are going to develop, means pre-product related activities and all, there are 3 points we have to focus. One is what kind of technical complexity, or what kind of technology or technicalities are we involving in the project? Point number one. Second, what must be the timelines? Within how much timeline do we really want this product to be completed, and what is the budget we have allocated to develop the product? Because end of the day, any business, it's completely based on ROI. ROI means return of investment. What is that I have invested? How much time will it be taken for me to complete this particular product, and what will be my return, and when I got the return, right? So this is a basic business principle any organization across the world follows. Even in product development, this is not something an exemption, right? So it's almost something similar, the same. So when you talk about pre-sales, when we are talking about pre-sales kind of stuff, usually there are two things we have to understand. You could ask me one thing here, Raj, as we are talking about pre-sales, then in what context pre-sales is pre-sales is applicable when we are having a product already? Because there are two conditions you see. For example, pre-sales is the team who will be identifying the services where customer requires, and they see the comparison, right? So how far technically we are qualified enough to provide services. Based on that, we follow the bidding process, like RFQs and all, everything will be taken accordingly. This is how generally the schedule planned and schedule will be continued. But when you see from the context of The product based company, here is a question, because as we are developing a product based upon our own interest, based on our own research, then why, on what context pre-sales teams provide services here? Here is a question, because most of the people, because there is no customer specific customer as such, as separate, there is no specific customer, but we are developing our own product based upon our own market research, our own territory, we are developing it. It has nothing to do with any specific client requirement, industry related. For example, if I'm developing a banking application, I see from the banking domain perspective what kind of services what kind of products are required, and which products are more easier and feasible for us to sell to the customers. That's how generally my perception. If that was the context, on what basis pre-sales team is being used here, right? So because most of the people have a confusion when I explain this point to them, people will have a confusion over here. In the first scenario, because if you see project based company, like the scenarios and all, everything that I'll explain, what are the steps to be taken into an account, what are the points to be considered. Of course, I have shared my presentation, but still that explanation will be given later. Let me address this question. For example, if this is the question there in the mind of the people, the answer is very simple. For example, I'll give you an example to you. Let's say, for example, an ERP application called SAP. SAP, an ERP application. Like, of course, SAP, there are a lot of ERP applications were there across industries and across world. Assume that SAP is having an ERP application, ERP product, which has a lot of divisions, right? SAP has material management, financial and cost accounting. At the same time, they have even what we call HR related HRMS, right? So all these things, different modules are there in SAP usually, right? So they have a product. This product consists of lot of modules, even financial cost accounting, right? Material management, everything is involved in it. Now they had a product which was already developed. This product might require for a customer called manufacturing, right? For example, a manufacturing giant or someone LG or Samsung Electronics. Assume that, right? So these people requires to process or to streamline their business processes or to streamline their activities. They require an ERP product. So they had made a survey where they wants to hire a product, because here if you see, if you take Samsung as an example, they're not expecting someone to develop the product right from the scratch for their ERP. They want to buy a ready-made one. It is simple for you to understand. If you are going for a shopping, in a simple example I'm giving for the people who couldn't understand, of course you guys can understand well, but still I am giving you a simple example. You go for a shopping where you can buy a ready-made dress according to the measurements of us, and we can buy those. Point number one. Point number two, you can buy a cloth where you can stitch that according to the measurements of the particular individual, right? So there are two cases. But if you see closely, even though you are buying a ready-made product, ready-made dress or ready-made clothes you are buying, if you see based upon the structure, based upon the sizes of a particular individual, there will be some minor alterations will be taken place. I don't say major, underline this point. There will be some minor alterations which might require, which we will be ready to do that, right or not, right? So usually, right? So according to our measurements and all, maybe sizes or something like those will be given, those sizes and all, everything will be given to a particular person, wherein within hours of time he'll do the alteration part and he'll provide us. Here, do remember, there was no such material of whatever the one which you have purchased was designed for your particular needs. So there were some standard specification. The dress was manufactured, either it might be a shirt or a pant, whatever it was, trouser or anything. So it was designed already. What you are doing is according to the measurements of a particular individual, one person X is a person who is buying it, but in terms of the lengths and all everything, thus that alterations will be done by the person who is selling this, by taking some time for you, right? The same way, if you take SAP as an example, SAP as an ERP, which is a familiar one, hence I'm taking this example to you. Now, for example, SAP ERP and application required for a company called Samsung. They want, because they are into manufacturing electronics, they want some ERP application for their activities, because there are a lot of departments which are involved in it. In order to streamline all their activities and all, they require an ERP. Developing a product or developing a project right from the beginning for their needs will obviously a difficult and challenging task. Again, they have to give all the requirements. People has to understand right from the beginning, developing all that. So, which is an expensive affair, point number one, because it is exclusive for ours. If it's a premium one, obviously it is an expensive. Of course, even products, buying a product is also an expensive thing. I don't say no for that. But still, this is more expensive when you are comparing, because services is being provided only for a particular customer. Usually, it's an expensive thing. What is that in a company called Samsung or some XYZ do that now? They want to hire an ERP application whichever is nearer to their technical specification, followed by budget. There are 2 points they consider. One is technical specification, second is budget. Technical specification means what technical specification they have. Assume that they are using some ERP application, a local ERP application, for a very long time. Earlier it was successful, but now, based on the present situation of the market itself is concerned, whatever the application they were using, that application is not performing 100% results as what they were expecting. So they want some professional ERP application, so that everything will be in a on a streamlined process. At the same time, as these are the prominent and successful applications, based upon the market future needs and all, whatever the required minimum features and all, everything will be developed by these guys automatically, right? So that we don't require you to see what will happen in future, all that stuff, right? So the best example you see, when we are buying mobile nowadays, you see there will be an auto updation of the software happens automatically, right? So there are some features which will automatically update, depends on the market needs, expectations, demands and all that. So these updations will happen automatically. I'm not comparing 100%, to an extent possible I'm comparing, please do remember that. So to an extent possible they can connect to this. So that, what was the advantage here? The advantage here is very simple. They don't require to develop an application right from the beginning. They had an existing product, which organization is electronic company is buying this ERP product directly. But here is a question. As you see SAP as an ERP, there are a lot of departments are involved. Is it really possible, or is it really mandatory for them to buy everything? May not be. This is where technical specification come into existence, because technically they may not be required all the modules. They may be required few modules, maybe one or two, three, four, and so and so, right? That is one point. Second, budget is also another uh, constraint, right? So they'll, because every organization, if they want to buy something, there will be some budget, right? They will be allocating, and that acceptance from the management is required, and management will have lot of questions here, right? So do we because if we are maintaining the organization, what is that we see? If any departmental head will come and ask us, right, we want some xyz ERP product or something, what is the first thing, being a business owner or someone, what is that the first thing we'll ask? Is it really needed for us to buy a product at this point in time? First point. Second, how far is it really helpful and useful for us, for our business in this context? What is the budget we require to buy this product, right? And what will be our return of investment? Return of investment may not be in financials, return of investment in terms of the quality services what is that we do, what is that we get once we buy the product, right? So being a business owner or being a business owner, this is where most of the people will think. I think everybody is following, right? So if you have any questions, please text me in the chat box. Please do remember, please text me in the chat box so that I'll answer your questions. Okay. So this is where most of the people will think over, right? So they see why are we buying this product and for what reason are we buying this? What advantages we see when we are buying? Is it really needed? If it is needed, to what extent? What must be the budget? So based on that, decision will be taken accordingly. Based on that, we need to hire or we need to see who are the vendors, right? This is how generally the situation happens. See, do remember, in the context of pre-sales, I'm explaining from the product based point of view, not from the project based point of view. Okay, please do remember. So there is a distinct difference between these two things. Please do remember this point before you're trying to understand. Right. So when, if this is the case, what happens now? Management has to take a decision, or a procurement team has to take a decision on it. What kind of how much, sorry, how much is the budget? Is it really helpful for us to allocate? Because when some customer wants you to expect us to provide services, usually customers will be of two different types. You should understand this. One is fixed amount of money, because there will be some fixed budget they will allocate. They will expect you to develop, or they want to buy a product within that particular budget. They don't increase that budget. They themselves will explain that for you first, right? For example, $5,000. $5,000 is our budget. Whoever is on par to this, they will hire those vendors. If it is expensive more than that, they don't go, right? So because this is a budget which was allocated, which is agreed. A project sponsor has taken an acceptance from the organization, from a management committee, that within that budget I am ready to get the product. So ERP products for many, whatever the budget we have finalized, within that budget we want someone to we'll see whoever is something on par to that, whoever is something nearer to that particular this thing and all, we will buy those products accordingly. If you want to buy, of course there is a process of RFPs, RFQs and all, everything will happen, that I'll explain in some time. Okay, that's a different thing. So this is point number one. This is the first thing which you have to understand. The next point is that within that budget, even they may not be required the complete ERP software or complete ERP package. They may not be required all that, because their functionalities and whatever the practical difficulty they are facing in reference to the departments, whatever they are using, is not something relating to that, right? So they may not be require an entire ERP application. So what they want now, they want someone to develop, or they want someone to customize the product according to their needs and demands, right? This is where most of the product based companies especially faces a challenge, because product is meant for a particular group of people, particular group of industry, I mean to say, because whichever the company it belongs to, if they are coming from that industry, their services, business services will remain same, right? So because style of working might be different, but end of the day, how the approach of services remains constant, all that stuff. So they may require some customizations to be made to the existing ones. This is where most of the people have find the difficulty. So customization according to the customer, according to the requirement of the client, is essentially important for any product based company. This is where generally pre-sales team has to work. I hope people I think you got the point here, right? So when you go for a product based company, please do remember, customer is not expecting you to buy the whole product whatever is there with you. In reference to ERP I'm talking about, it may vary, right? So if you take, for example, if it's a point of sale system or a core banking application, it may be different, because there is a standard thing, they may require some changes to be made. But here, in reference to ERP, I'll give you two examples. Okay, two examples I'll give so that you will be understood well. In reference to manufacturing and ERP, They may not be required all the modules. They may be required limited modules. That too, in the limited modules depends on the structure of the organization as well as the procedure of the manufacturing or whatever the process do they follow. That has to be customized accordingly. Is that customization is really possible for us to do or not? Who has to decide that? Technical people has to decide. That's the reason why even architect team will also be involved sometimes in the pre-sales team. Why these people will be involved in the pre-sales? Because they must be knowing about why, in what